Hello, Bill Tucker. I want to talk a little bit today about phobias. Now, some people would say, well, phobias, that's not a relationship issue. But if you've ever sat in a plane with someone who's got a flying phobia and you spent most of the flight with the claws hanging into you and you feel helpless and you don't know what to do, how to help them ease what's going on because you don't have the same phobia. And this is why it really affects relationships because whatever partner's got the relationship phobia, it's hard because how can you understand what it feels like if you don't have the same phobia? Whether that be spiders or whether it be snakes or frogs or seagulls or fear of public speaking or fear of flying or whatever it is. So how it works is the body communicates to us through our feelings. And when we're working with phobias, we've got to remember two things. One, we weren't born with the phobia. And if we weren't born with it, then it's resolvable. That's it. Two, the body communicates through our feelings. So we have to go into the feelings to resolve the phobia. The phobia itself, the manifestation, that's just the symptoms. And we can't resolve something working at the symptom level. We have to go back and find the cause. Always, always, always. And even if we can't find the original cause, maybe it happened really young and we can't remember, and that's what trauma does. It stops us from re-remembering what happened sometimes. So, through the feelings, so how does that person feel when they're in phobia? When I work with people with flying phobias or whatever phobia there is, then I love working with phobias, by the way, because I just love that investigative stuff, that questioning and going back in there and really finding out what's going on for that person because it's unique to every individual. Never work on a phobia in a universal way because it doesn't work. It's really personal to that person and that's why it's so intense. That's why the feelings are so intense. So let's go back there, look at the feelings. Trapped, always number one is a feeling I look for first. So especially in a plane, because that environment, as soon as they go in the plane or even if they're thinking about going on that flight, they're going to come up with those feelings of trapped. Then they're going to feel helpless. They're going to feel powerless. And on a plane, they can have the fear of losing control, the fear of being out of control, not being in control, whatever sort of control issues going on at the same time. So, trapped. The first event may not have happened in a plane. That's the important thing to remember. So it may have happened, say for instance, the flight phobia started in the 30s or 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. They may have had a trauma, and this I'm just thinking back from personal experience working with people. They may have had a trauma where, so I'm always looking for trapped, and the question always is, what just changed before the symptoms showed up? What just changed before the phobia started? Go right back to a time when the phobia wasn't there, if it is in their conscious recollection, and find out the circumstances and experiences that happened in their life where they felt trapped, helpless, powerless. So say for instance, it may be, say as a teenager, a woman's going out with a boyfriend and they're in the back of a car and there's another couple in the front and the guy's driving like a plonker, yeah. So sitting in the back seat, especially years ago, cars weren't as well built as they are now and they didn't handle as well as they do now sometimes. So you're in the back seat and maybe you're a bit nervous anyway. Maybe you've got a predisposition to scare or fear or fright type situations. Or maybe you've been trapped before. Like, for instance, when I was a kid, I was trapped underneath a stage in a church that was opposite the school, and the decorators were working there, and all the kids used to go there and hang out, because we also used that as a sports room. And one of the decorators thought it would be really funny and trapped us, a few of us underneath the stage and shut the door. Pitch dark, really big area, with lots of equipment in there. And they just buggered off and had their lunch and then come back and thought it was hilarious. Now, I'm sure there's some kids there who'll have a big trap conflict. So maybe in the car, maybe that car's a bit out of control and you feel really helpless and powerless. That's going to get reactivated every time you feel that way because your body's going to communicate to you and say, nah, don't go there. When that door's shut, bang, you're in there again, and you're in that. Don't do it. So every time you think of going flying, and then the actual flying or the thought of flying becomes the trigger. So when we're up in the plane, there can be lots of different aspects, and you may have to work in many different aspects over a few sessions, or maybe you may get 1 or 2 sessions and you're pretty good to go. So, trapped. So you have to clear that up in some way or other, whether it's through hypnotherapy, EFT, NLP, or whatever modality is going on, or even to get a deeper understanding of what's going on, because the body's just reacting on that plane. So then you have to look at, maybe it's the fear of taking off and how that makes them feel. I love taking off on a plane, but I don't have the flight phobia. I used to have some of it, but not anymore. So I love taking off. I love that power, that surge, and I just want it to go even quicker. Some people have the fear more so when they're landing. Some people have the fear more so if they feel claustrophobic, or there's other people around them that may be being sick, especially with a bit of turbulence. Then, so there's different triggers that will trigger someone to not feel safe on that plane or on any phobia, no matter what it is, whether it's the spiders or the snakes or whatever it is. Some people may be okay to look at a picture way in the distance of a snake, for instance, but if you bring that picture a bit closer, or if they see a spider, it's okay way over there, but if it moves, wow, different story, different aspect, okay? So on the plane, the person who's got the phobia may be looking around them, checking in with the air hostess. What do they look like? What do their eyes look like? What does the body language look like? Do they feel safe? Oh, what's that buzzer? What's that bell? What's that sound? What's that going off? What does that mean? All this stuff, we get triggered. Then we get triggered by other people. Or maybe we don't like being cramped. So then we may have the fumes, may have smell, all the sounds. Then you may look out the wings and the wings are moving as they're meant to. And so all of these triggers can trigger us all the time. So the important thing is that this really affects our relationships, and it affects our family when we're flying. And I worked with a few mothers over the years who, where the husbands are businessmen and they don't have any flight phobia whatsoever, zilch, and they just don't understand. Or the children, they've got to look after the children as well as push down the Valium and the alcohol just to get on the flight in the first place. So it really robs people, anything that robs people of the quality of life, whether that be a health, mental, emotional, physical issue, has to be worked on, because the body doesn't like suppressing things for a long time, and it will keep reminding you every time you go into that environment or that situation or whatever's going on, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's mind-numbing for people, and for other people it may be they may be okay flying in the daylight or at certain times of the day, but not in the dark. Or so you have to look at every different aspect of the flying or the fear of flying, and clear them all up individually, work on the biggest ones first, and then you're all good to go. And in fact, it'd be really good, I'll get in touch with some ex-clients and who I have worked with on phobias and see if they'll do a little video testimonial for me. I know one girl I'm just thinking recently, well, last year or two, and massive flight phobia, and she ended up flying on her own to Australia, and with almost no, and just absolutely really enjoyed it and enjoyed the flight and being with people. And that's a long flight. That's pretty much as long as you can get. And then she got in touch, and I heard through her mother that she then jumped in a helicopter. And I'm like, oh, but didn't even work in helicopters. And helicopters can be more scary than planes for some people. So an important thing is, is no matter what it is we're dealing with, whether it's a relationship issue or a health issue or the phobias or whatever, it's about regaining our quality of life. That's what it's all about. So that we don't have to restrict our life in some way, because the body doesn't like feeling contracted in any way. It doesn't like feeling stuck. And you've got a big problem with a stuck conflict and a trapped conflict and a fear and a fear fright and a helpless and a powerless when you've got a phobia. You know, they're all been reactivated at the same time. So go back and look for any past traumas that made you feel that way. Forget the circumstances, they may be different, but work on how it feels. Just go by the feelings, be guided by the feelings. Always, always, always. Our body's communication system, work with it, and you get your freedom back, you know, really. And don't listen to all these people say, oh, you have to tough it out, you have to brave it, you have to get up to the cockpit and do this and that. Yeah. And if you have any control type issues going on at the same time, and most people do have control type issues, by the way. I love riding motorbikes and I feel safe in my motorbike, relatively safe. But I don't feel as safe in a car, and I certainly don't like being in the back seat of a car, and I certainly don't like being in a car with someone who drives too close to the truck in front. So that'll trigger me to the point, and I just keep out of these situations as best I can. So be gentle, and please get in touch if you want to clear up any phobias. They're awesome to work with, and I promise you they're all resolvable, no exceptions. Yeah, so get in touch.